Wassily Kandinsky was born December 16, 1866 in Moscow, Russia. He grew up playing multiple musical instruments. He was always inspired by the colors of nature and sounds of music. He felt music could be imagined as colors and shapes, and that colors and shapes could be interpreted as sounds and feelings. He once said, "Everything starts with a dot." Today's inspiration artwork, Squares with Concentric Circles, was just a sketch that Kandinsky made to look at how placing different colors next to one another would change the look and feel of each color. So for today's Kandinsky-inspired project, you're going to need some paper, some paints and paintbrushes, or if you'd like, you could just use markers, crayons, colored pencils, oil pastels, almost anything would work. I'm using liquid tempera paints today because I haven't used them in a while and they're one of my favorites. So I'll need a paintbrush, water, and paper towels or rag to go with those for cleaning my brush. So to start our project, we are going to divide our paper into 8 rectangles. One way you could do that is by folding. So I'm going to fold, making the long edges meet, then fold again the opposite direction, and one more time until when I open my paper, I will have 8 equal rectangles. If you don't want to fold your paper, sometimes it's tricky to work on a paper that's been folded. What you could also do is divide your paper with a ruler and a pencil, as I have. I'm using a thick paper to paint on today, so that method worked easier for me. I found the center going across lengthways and made a line, and then I divided each part into fourths. So first I found the half and then half of that again. And I drew lines to help me keep my areas nice and separate while I'm working. Okay, so Kandinsky said each artwork begins with a dot. So let's start by placing a dot in one of our squares or rectangles. I'm going to start with a light color of yellow. And I'm just going to make a round dot like so. And while I have this yellow on my brush, I might think of a color that's similar to yellow so I don't have to clean my brush off all the way. And I might make a dot in the next square or rectangle with that color. I got a little too much paint on my brush there. So I'm going to wipe that off. And then another color that's kind of similar to start in another rectangle, making a dot there. So I'm just moving through each rectangle, making a dot in the center of each one. You might be working with crayons, you might be working with markers. All of those are fine materials for doing this art project, as long as you have lots of colors to choose from. So I'm making a dot in each section using a different color. Let's see, I think I'll do one with black for my last section. So here I have our starting dots for each section of my artwork. I'm going to switch to a little bit smaller brush. I think it will make this a little bit easier. So I'm just going to pick any color except the one of my starting dot. And I'm going to start with green. And I'm going to paint a circle around my starting dot with green. And placing this green around the yellow, to my eye, the yellow already looks like it has a little bit of green in it now. And then I'm going to pick a different color to go around the green. Let's go with purple. And we'll see as we put the purple next to the green, how does it change how our eye sees that green color. You don't have to be super neat about this, but I'm trying not to let my colors mix on the page too much. If you were working with watercolor, what you might choose to do is use an oil pastel between your colors of watercolor, and that would kind of act as a wall to protect your colors from just bleeding right into one another. So if you made a nice solid circle between watercolor paints out of oil pastel or even regular crayon, when you go to paint your next circle, it won't just mingle colors with the first one. So I'm going to continue making kind of like a target pattern around my starting dot using different colors. Making sure that each color is different from the one before. And when I get to where my circles almost fill the sides of the rectangle, I'm going to move on to the next one, and I'll come back and do the background space right at the end. So I'm going to finish filling out each of these sections with a target or bullseye pattern of alternating different colors. Now I'll begin filling in the background space around each target. Make sure to use a color different from the last two colors on your target. So now I've finished painting all of my concentric circles with different colors, and then I filled in all the background. You can see I painted right up next to each color, not leaving any white space in between. So you can really see how the colors act next to each other. Look at each square or rectangle on your painting and think about how the different colors act and look when they're next to a different color. For instance, this yellow and purple next to each other have a lot of energy, whereas the two blues and the green next to each other is much more of a calm combination. Which combination do you like best? Everyone will have a different answer. You can also think about these color principles in your artwork going forward. Will the red house stand out more against a green background or a brown background? I hope you enjoyed today's Kandinsky-inspired afternoon art lesson. See you next time.